Hi, guys. Thought I'd freak you out a bit. Good morning. It's Ted Davies, and this is Ted Davies Ted Davies Artistry TED Talks, if I can talk. But anyway, it's Tuesday. We started out with 1 cup of coffee, and we got a little bit more espresso here. So let's find out about Indian River Roasting Company while I wake up a bit here and find some caffeine. Be right back. Here at Ted Davies Artistry, we take coffee seriously. And so does our sponsor, Indian River Roasting Company. It's fair trade, organic, and they're artisans just like me. The only difference is I use watercolor and ink and they use coffee beans. And I enjoy it all through my day. So do yourself a favor, go to the description when you like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Find Indian River Roasting Company's website, use the promo code CaffeinateTED2021, and save 10% on your purchase. Yeah, use that CaffeinateTED2021 promo code, and that will help you out. Save 10% on Indian River Roasting Company's website, which you can find in the description, IndianRiverRoastingCompany.com. We also have an awesome sponsor that deals with comic books, John Cashman's Cashman Comic Books in Bay City. Hold on one second.
And every day I wake up feeling the same way now. Need to find something to believe. Every night the dreams we make, they're haunting my head now.
Yeah, check out everything that John Cashman's doing in Bay City. Say hi to Petey when you guys go down to the store. He's the best guard dog in the world. Also, John ships nationwide, so just check out everything he's doing on CashmanComics.com. If you can't make it to Bay City to the shop, he will help you out. Whether you're a novice collector or a collector like myself, seasoned. I've been doing this a few years. So we also have another awesome sponsor, Comics Unlimited. Glenn B. Fleming was kind enough to come on board here and check out everything that they're doing on Amazon, actually. If you go to Amazon, Glenn B. Fleming has all the new listings and the old listings of Comics Unlimited. Check out everything that they're doing. And also, I want to talk about Damian Walbram. Yeah, Damon did this beautiful figure for my Grimm 101 campaign, book 2, actually. This is Jim the Grimm, and we're going to be painting these up. Actually, I'm going to paint up one this week. I'm going to try to do it live. I'm going to see how that goes. But Damien is just the Da Vinci when it comes to resin figures. So check out everything he's doing, and you know what? I got to put that in the description, by the way, too. But Damien, if you're on the call, go ahead and throw your website on here too, so we get that situated so people can see what you do. We're also very proud affiliates of the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Check out everything that we're doing 7 days a week. We're a group of creatives that help creatives build their business. And if you could help me build my business, that would be great too. If you could like and share this, that would be awesome. I look forward to it, bringing Matt Knowles out because he's just a great creator. He and Steph Cannon have been doing this for many, many, many years. So I want to bring him out in a second and check out everything we're doing. He's behind the screen. He's going to make me laugh. Stop. You're killing me. I'm going to bring him out anyway. Guys, this is Matt Knowles.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing out there?
Okay, so I did not tell you what question I usually ask on my show. I always start everything out. So
you want to start over? Ready? Okay,
nope,
ready? And
nope. Just ready.
What's
Okay,
going on,
okay. When did you land on this planet?
When did I land on this planet?
Yeah.
Far too long ago. But then again, my mom actually lived in Roswell when the Roswell incident happened.
Are you
So
kidding me?
I kid you not.
Wow.
I kid you not. So we always say there's got to be part alien in my family. So you never know. I could have been around for
That's
millions
cool,
of
man.
millennia, or who knows how years are counted on my home planet.
That's great. We on the Truth Mongers on Wednesday night with Going to be Fleming, we're actually doing Roswell as part of our search. We're doing a lot of things about Roswell. So now I can say I know somebody
With some
has
Roswell ties. That's right. I've actually been to Roswell once in my life.
That's cool. All right. Well, cool. Well, welcome. I want to say good morning to everybody. We're going to get people situated in here. We've got Donna and Carl and Sarah and Ryan and Glenn, UK. I was just talking about Glenn. Just shout out to Glenn. Did you hear that, Glenn, about the Roswell thing? Isn't that funny? Okay. We've got Grant Lankert as well. So welcome, everybody. We'll get to your questions in a minute. You know, I've been wanting to have you on for a long time. I mean, Steph was on last year. And you guys, it's interesting, the creation team that you guys are, because one's on the West Coast, one's on the East Coast. So, and because of scheduling right now, I think it's good that we, since we're both on the East Coast, it's a little bit, or Midwest East. It's a little bit better to have you by yourself today. We're going to talk a little bit about your Kickstarter and that, but how did, what was it like? Did you grow up in Florida, or was it just always, was it all over the place?
Always been on the East Coast. I was born in Maryland.
Oh, cool.
And then when I was on my 10th birthday, we moved to Florida. I lived my quote unquote formative years through high school and a little bit after in South Florida. But I've been in North Central Florida and Ocala for over 20 years.
Oh, that's cool.
Actually, let me think. Has it been for 20 years? Yeah, over 20 years I've been in Ocala.
That's cool. And you've always been a creative mindset, or has it been something that's just kind of struck recently, or what's
I started playing music when I was in high school.
Cool.
And that was where my creative juices flowed, so to speak, like writing poetry or turning those poetic words into lyrics for songs.
Sure.
So most of where my energy was in that range. I was the typical high school kid that's like, I'm going to be in a band and I'm going to make it big, and that's where my money's going to come from. And you're like, okay, dude, you're playing in a very, very small windowed genre. So, you can't follow the Disney Channel crap of you're going to go win the battle of the bands and you're going to have a tour bus waiting outside for you. But I fell into that mentality, pursued that. That obviously didn't happen. And then I played for up till about 2007, 2008. And the band that I was in actually was right on the cusp of breaking over that hump. Yeah. We had a few record labels that were looking at us. We had a label out of Germany that was looking at us as well. We had already signed with a label out of Holland. Mm-hmm. And it was right when the digital revolution was happening with MP3s, and record labels did not know how to monetize that. Sure. And so every label we talked to, we didn't hear from for like a month. They're like, oh yeah, this label got bought out by these people. And so we lost our contact. One of the guys in the band had an opportunity to go back and rejoin a very, very large and influential band that he was originally a member of. And he's still in that band now to this day. We're still friends, but he's out playing whenever COVID's not happening. He's out playing in front of 100,000 people at festivals every time they play. And
incredible.
So I actually took about 5 or 6 years, 7 years. I lose track completely off from doing anything. I was burnt out on the industry, burnt out on the amount of effort to get very, very little back in return. Sure. And then when I finally decided to get back into writing, I knew I wanted to do more than just play music. I wanted there to be music with a story. And I looked at what I was doing, and I was going back to like my old folder of lyrics, some of which were lyrics that had been there for over a decade. And I was taking them, repurposing them, and using them with the new music I was writing. And I was like, well, this is kind of like what steampunk is, where you're taking something old, repurposing it into something new and futuristic. And that's how the steampunk aesthetic was brought into what I do. And then it's just kind of exploded from there. So that's where the origin was with me and creation. And then the comic stuff and the actual book. The book writing came after that, which would Heirs of Isildur was supposed to be an ebook. Okay. And I tried to turn into a comic, but it really didn't become an actual comic until Steph and I met. And she was like, if you're going to do a comic, it needs to look like a comic.
Yeah, this is how you do it. One of the things, I'm just going to bring up a couple things. Ryan said he was born in Maryland as well. So
where were you born at, Ryan? I grew up in Damascus, just outside of Gaithersburg, Rockville area.
Okay, cool. That's a nice area. I like it through there. It's
Oh
pretty through
yeah.
there. Yeah, find out, Ryan. Let us know. Sarah had a question. Sarah, what type of music was it that you were doing? Was it death metal? What was
I've
the?
always played melodic death metal. The original band that I was in played a lot of melodic death metal,
Yeah.
but there was always something more to it. Like I'm big on, if I'm going to be putting time and effort into the lyrics,
Hmm.
uh, somebody better be able to understand it. Now, if you're someone that say is into rockabilly
Yeah.
and you're not versed in death metal, you may be like, I
You
can't
might
understand these
be turned
lyrics. But
off
if
by it. Right.
Yeah, but if
Right.
you're somebody that's into that style, the vocals need to at least be enunciated. And one of the things that we've been doing on our In Symmetry Creations website is we've been doing a
Hmm.
series called Lyrical Look-ins,
Okay.
because all of these songs on both of the albums we have for Heirs of Isildur have got a lot of lore in our universe,
Hmm.
and we've been putting some very deep looks into what these songs are, what they're about. So if somebody really wants to dig into the universe of what we do, there is the opportunity to go in there and take a look. We've done 2 of them so far.
Hmm.
Hopefully by this Friday, we're going to have the 3rd one up, and that one's going to be a special one. We did the first 3 songs we've done are The Perilous Prospects of Shadow's Haven, The Perilous Prospects of the Portals, and we're about to do The Perilous Prospects of the Timekeeper. They all relate to 3 of the main elements of Heirs of Isildur. But the reason why this one is going to be such a big deal is because if anybody followed what we did, the main musician in what we did, besides myself,
Hmm.
was tragically killed 11 days after recording his tracks for the last album. And this song actually contains the very last piece of recording he ever did in his life.
I remember
So
when that happened, and
yeah,
I think I sent condolences, but man, I'm really sorry about that. I remember when you went on, you actually talked about it. You posted something about it, I know, but then you talked a bit about it.
yeah, it
Um,
made our Kickstarter for that comic and album take on a whole new meaning,
yeah. Oh
because
yeah.
Corey
Yeah.
Steger was the original guitarist in the band Under Oath.
Hmm.
He was there that helped Under Oath actually get a name, and then he left as they were getting ready to do their 3rd album, and that's when they kind of changed their sound and kind of just blew up. I mean, there's millions of followers of Under Oath,
Yeah.
um, and he kind of disappeared in a sense. He just kind of recoiled. He's like, look, I'm getting off of social media. I just want to be a family man, be with my wife, be with my kids.
Sure.
And so to the world, they really didn't see anything about what was going on in his life other than what we were doing.
Hmm.
And so when he died, like every major music site picked it up. Original guitar player from Under Oath is killed in a tragic accident. And we're like, dude, he's done stuff since Under Oath. And
Yeah.
so the
Yeah.
entire Kickstarter campaign, we basically have been the ones that have been keeping his name alive for him. Even if live shows, people come up to the table and they
Hmm.
ask, they see, I've actually got a trading card right here. This is a cover that we had James Sims do for us, and we turned it into a trading card.
Awesome. Wow.
That
Let
is
me bring
that is
that.
a
Let me bring that up. Hold on one second.
So this is a Game of Thrones homage cover that we
Yeah.
had James Sims do for us, and
It's cool.
that's obviously Corey in the middle. But the
Hmm.
thing that's special about this cover is all the guitars you can see are actually Corey's actual guitars. We went back all the way through his time in Under Oath and moving forward, and we actually had his real guitars become a part of the album,
That's
become a
awesome.
part of the cover. And that red one in the front has actually got special meaning to us, to Steph and myself, because
Hmm.
that's the one that he recorded the majority of his guitar solos for both albums on.
Wow, that's cool. Well, what a good send off. I mean, that's awesome. That's I mean, that's art. That's true art. Um, what? How can I put this? What have you? What's been the hardest thing about him not being around? Has it been harder to create, or has it been better to create? Because you feel like it's, you know what I
So
mean? Like you're not just honoring him,
so
but
the way that the creation process has gone since just before the first album,
yeah.
Corey wanted to be basically he wanted to be there to be used however I wanted to use his talents. He's like,
Hmm.
hey, you tell me what you want me to do. I know you're gonna. He'd always call me a mad scientist. He's like, I know your mad scientist brain is gonna come up with whatever. You tell me what I need to do, and I'll come in and I'll rock it.
Yeah.
So I was always the one that was writing the music on the backside. He was just doing his thing on the front side. He
Yeah.
was on all but one song on the first album and had a major impact on that one. On this one, he has parts on 5. I was already doing, he was basically already in his own world, and Steph and I were doing all the stuff on this side. The thing that was the most difficult was when we released the first single, and we actually had to take something, even though he only has like a 5-second spot on there,
Yeah.
was like, okay, now we're going to go release and share this out there with the world.
Mhm.
And we're like, this sucks that he's not here to hear this
To
or
be
see
part of it.
this. And
Yeah.
that made it really tough. But then again, the thing that was really cool about it is we got to all develop, especially Steph and myself, got to develop relationships with Corey's family, people that we would have never spoken to previously, because why would we be speaking to his
Right.
sisters? Why would we be speaking to his mom? The last session that we recorded right here in this room, and Corey brought down his best friend Rick, and he had always been trying to get Rick and I to meet up.
Mhm.
And Steph was on video chat, so the four of us were in this room, whether it was physically or virtually, and we all got to share that last recording session together.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so little did we know that 11 days later, Steph and I would legitimately be working on Misfits Clubhouse. 11 days later, I could tell you the panel that we were on in Misfits Clubhouse. I can tell you the dialogue that we were on. And I remember seeing my phone popped up with a message from Corey's best friend, Rick.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, that's weird, because I wouldn't have expected him to just
right.
message me on my own.
Right.
And then I saw, he's like, hey, man, I got bad news for you. Corey got killed by a reckless driver last night. And that formed a bond between Steph and myself and Rick, because Steph got to see me. I've never been on that side of things where I was the one having the visceral reaction to a death and somebody witnessing it. I've been on the other side of things where
delivering the news,
delivering it.
Yeah.
I mean, but for somebody physically see me in that spot, I mean, I probably sat with my hands on my head like this for a minute or two, and Steph's like, what the heck is going on? And I couldn't even utter anything.
Yeah.
But that's formed a bond between us and Rick. Steph and I, she had the idea, that cover, she's like, we need to do something more for the family. We already had done stuff through the Kickstarter campaign,
Mm-hmm.
but she's like, we need to take that cover and make full-size versions of it as posters and get it to the family. So we actually had meetings with the mother, the grandmother, the best friend, the sister, and we actually got to hand them as a surprise these full-size versions of that. And even the grandmother's like, I got to figure out where I'm going to put this on my wall. And we're like, that's what we got to do right there.
That's good. Well, and I think that you're, it's your privilege, but your obligation too. You've got it. You need to honor him and his efforts and his music. And let me shift a little bit here. When did you start, when you were younger, when did you start playing? What was your, we'll talk about your art and everything else and your development, writing and everything soon, but I want to find out, when did you start playing guitar? What was it? Guitar?
So I started playing guitar when I was 16, and it was pretty hilarious because one of my best friends and I had a real bad fight, and we were just like, man, screw you, we're not going to be friends anymore. And then we're like, man, this sucks, that's my best friend. And he's like, man, we should start a band. He was a bass player. I'm like, okay, I'll join your band. I guess I should learn how to play guitar.
Sure.
And yeah, I
what was the name of the band? What was the name of the band?
So the name of the band was Royal Anguish. And the funny thing is that there were multiple iterations of it. There was a high school like grindcore band.
Yeah.
And then that band broke up. And then some of the guys afterwards, we got together, we kept the name. We're like, oh, we want to keep the name because the name's really cool. And that was probably a bad decision, because people nowadays are like, hey, I've gone back and I found all these old records or old demo tapes. And I'm like, yeah, that's not the same band. I mean, and it's,
Thanks, but yeah.
I mean, imagine if you were like, had people that were going back to stuff you did when you were like 16 and 17, and you're like, hey, is this what you do now? And I'm like, no, that stuff's really bad. Mm-hmm. But we kept that name for quite a while through many iterations, different locations. When we were on the label out of Holland, which was called Fear Dark, that was probably the most significant time for Royal Anguish. We got to do one tour in Europe. We actually toured with the band Elevite on their very first tour. And for people that are in the folk metal scene, they're one of the biggest bands in that genre in the world. And we actually had in our possession their first shirts and their CDs and everything before they did, because we flew into Europe and into Holland, and we're staying with the record label owner.
Sure.
And the boxes of all their stuff got to his house while we were there. So we're like, cool. Hey, this is pretty cool. Let's prank these guys. So we
that's wrong. That's
so
great.
We opened up their stuff, put on all their shirts, listened to their CDs, and then sent them a whole bunch of pictures. And we're like, yeah, your stuff is awesome. And all these guys from Switzerland are like, who are these idiots from the US that are messing with us? And we met him the next day and became friends. But
Ryan said that he lived in Towson.
in Towson, Maryland. Yep. So that's not that far. I mean, it's probably what 30 minutes away, I believe.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Right. Yeah, that's right. It shouldn't be that far. Do you guys have a lot? You had a lot of toll roads though in Maryland, didn't you?
I was too young to even know back
Okay,
then.
good.
There's a lot
Man,
of toll roads in Central Florida. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
You want to go to
Yeah,
Orlando?
I can imagine. Yeah, I can
You want to
imagine.
go to Orlando? There's literally one interstate that's not a toll road, and it's horrible.
What's let me go back to the musician side of you. What is the what was the first guitar that you owned? Was it a Gibson PV? What was it?
I actually had
Ibanez?
somebody that was like, "Hey man, I heard that you are wanting to play guitar. Here, I'm going to give you this. I took it all apart. If
Yeah.
you want to put it back together, you can have it." And they actually had a BC Rich bitch
Oh,
that was
Yeah.
neck through body.
mhm.
That was like a very big deal. Like if it was put together, it was like a 4-digit guitar.
Oh yeah.
And he's
easily.
like, you want to put it together, you can have it. So the very first guitar I ever had was a BC Rich bitch, and now I
Wow.
play.
What kind of pickups do they have on that one? Did he
Oh man, I don't
trick
even
that
remember.
out or no?
I don't even remember
I love
anymore because it was. I don't even remember anymore because it was so long ago.
Yeah.
But now I play on an 8-string. I've got it right here. I've got a
Wicked.
Schecter, and
Wicked.
Corey had me put in some bare knuckle juggernauts
Oh yeah.
into this
Oh,
one
yeah. Yep.
because when you're playing on an 8-string and you've got that extra low E on there, that
Mhm.
really heavy like third nut crunch
Mhm.
that's in there, you have
Mhm.
to have the right pickups for it. So he was big on making sure that
And
that
it's
there were
I mean
pickups that were
that's
going to go with it.
I'm sure that's pretty throaty. That can get
Oh
down and
yeah,
dirty. Yeah. I'm
and
a
and
big
it,
Gretsch. I'm a big Gretsch fan. I'm a
yeah,
51 the classic hollow
yeah.
core,
In this
5120s,
in the genre that I play in, there's almost a reversing of where the guitars and the bass end up fitting.
Yeah.
A lot of times, if you look at bands like say Beyond Creation
Mhm.
or Inferi, things like that. Inferi is not really a good example of this because they all play 6-string guitars. But when you look at bands that play 8 strings that are so low, the bass players are normally playing up the neck. First fragment, their bass
Right.
player plays up the neck, so they're playing like treble runs on the
Mhm.
bass while the guitars are holding down the low end. It's an interesting dynamic
Mhm.
because it's so counter to what you normally hear in the rest of the music world because the bass almost becomes a lead instrument.
Right. That's very true. And I mean it's a lot like rockabilly because rockabilly, a stand-up doghouse bass has a lot of the I mean it's you get a lot of guitar riffs, don't get me wrong, but that becomes such a staple. Um Almost more than the drums. So I
Yeah,
don't know. I mean, there's a lot of similarities in music. Music's music to me. So
big
I don't
time.
really, I never got into the satanic death metal stuff, but
Well, then I will
some of
say
that can
this.
get pretty dark, and I need to move away from that, but not
Well,
all of it.
I
But
can
just
tell you this. One of the things that we've actually had people come up to our table,
yeah,
and it cracks me up because they're like, "Oh man, I don't want to go to that table because that's all satanic." And I'm like, "Dude, do you know me?" I'm like, "Do you know me?" I'm like, "This is not in any way that,
yeah,
not in any way."
yeah.
Um,
And it's people's
but
perception, right? It's just the
it's people's
perception.
perception because
Yeah.
they see that they saw when we had the dragon masks at the
Right,
table,
right. Which are
and
gorgeous, by the way.
yeah,
We'll talk
our
about that in a minute.
our
Yeah.
yeah, and we had stuff like that, and people just got the misconception because when you're looking at stuff like Tales from Nocturnia that has a lot of like D&D influence or World
Mhm.
of Warcraft, and you've got like the fantasy monsters, and then you have the dragon mask, and you have like the death metal logos.
Yep. They
People
just think it's
automatically, oh,
yeah.
this has got to be evil, and
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you do not know me very well because that's not in any way what we're about.
Got it. Did you were you classically trained then? Did you end up going okay. See, I
Not
play
it.
everything by ear. I can't even read
Yeah,
music. And I've
same with
done
me.
keyboards, piano, you name it, guitar, and it's all been by ear. I
People,
think
people,
I thought, yeah, and then people get pissed. It's like, well, I'm sorry. It's the way it's the way it is. It's the way I've always been.
yeah, people
Um,
ask me, they'll be like, "Can you play this song?" And I'm like, "Nope." I'm like, "I've never had the desire to go play someone else's song."
yeah,
I'm
I
like, "I
agree
just
with
want
you
to
on
play
that.
mine. Let them play their song. I'll play
Yeah.
my own stuff."
If I want to do a cover, that's great. But yeah, I'm
Yep.
with you on that. Okay, so I'm gonna let everybody in on the band the first band I was in high school.
Okay.
Moxie and the Super Chihuahuas. That was our band. Yeah, not exactly the threshold slasher band that you might think, but it was a kick-ass rockabilly band. It was really good. So, what was the name of yours again?
Royal Anguish was the first band
Yeah, that's
that I
so
was in,
badass. That's so badass.
and that's why we kept the name because it was a fun logo. We had a lot of fun with the logo, but then when I took the time off and I wanted to get back into stuff, I'm like, you know what? I need a clean slate. I need a clean break. I want what we're doing, or at the time, it's like what I want to do. I want to make sure it's being judged on what it is, and that's it. I don't want anybody judging it on anything else. If they want to judge me on stuff I've done before, that's fine, but I want the project to be judged on the project. And some of the things that's funny is that there were some lyrics and even some music that were just unused that were sitting out there in the vault. And if the last album that Royal Anguish was supposed to put out only had 3 songs that actually made the light of day. The rest of them went unfinished. And some of the lyrics from that actually made it onto, in some version, made it onto these 2 albums. And with this album, the new one, Heirs of Isildur versus Tales from Nocturnia, one of the songs on there, actually the tracking, about half of it was recorded 14 years ago and just got stuck in the vault and just never got used. So decided that this was the right album to have it on. It actually lyrically fit right into the slot we needed to fit in.
That's cool.
And
Good.
we and revamped the tracking, redid a lot of the stuff that was on there, had an amazing violin player, Andrew Polo, come in and do some tracks.
Sweet.
Re-recorded a whole bunch of the stuff on there and turned it into a new song.
So is the music that you've got now, do you use that in correlation with the books then for listening in the background, or what? I mean, how does it work?
So if you look at, that's a great question. So if you look at the first album, which is Heirs of Isildur, The Crossroads Conundrum, that is also the same name as the first arc for Heirs of Isildur. Okay. There's 12 tracks on there. And if you look through the 11 issues, or now the trade paperback, there'll be a spot that says, do you want to know more about this character? Say the character's name is Shiver. Go listen to the song Shiver on the album, and that's where his backstory is. So if you want to have more of an expanse on that character, that song expands out what he is or where he's from. With the new album, we didn't want to do exactly the same thing. We didn't want to be like, oh, well, here's the second one where it's going to be a bunch of character origin stories. And what had happened was, as we were doing the Kickstarters for Heirs of Isildur, and especially for Tales from Nocturnia, we always wanted to have new music for it. Yeah. And we ended up with a bunch of songs for Heirs and a bunch of songs for Tales from Nocturnia. And we're like, you know what? How are we going to deal with half of the album being Heirs, half the album being Nocturnia? And we said, you know what? Let's just make it a versus thing, do a Marvel versus Capcom homage cover for it.
Cool.
And so one side, like with the vinyl, one side is all Heirs songs. You turn it over. The other side is all Nocturnia. As far as the way that these songs relate back to the story, like we mentioned earlier, the Perilous Prospects, the 3-part that starts the album, we designed those so that if somebody is a new reader to Heirs of Isildur, they don't have to go back and read 11 issue 268-page trade paperback just to figure out where we're at. They could listen to these songs, look at the lyrics there, and then look at the little one-off we just did, Nightmare Scenario, and they're going to be good to go, just so they can be up to speed with where we're going to go with the next arc, the Perilous Prospects, which we're going to have on Kickstarter to start the year of 2022. That was coming together outstandingly. For Tales from Nocturnia, those 5 songs, a few of them just kind of summarize the issues that are out there. Yeah. But they also take it from a different angle. Like, we're like, oh, this thing was happening in issue 1, but you're actually seeing that from the viewpoint of this character over here. So if you were just a reader of the series and now you hear that song or see that song, you're like, oh crap, I'm seeing this from a whole different perspective, or this character had a totally different motivation than I thought they did just by reading the issues. And that's what we want to do. We always want to find a way to take the universe and the stories and bring them out of the pages. Yeah. So that way, when the book is down or it's on your shelf, that the story hasn't disappeared onto the shelf as well, that you can listen to music or have other ways to be able to still experience that storyline outside of the pages of the book.
That's great. And I think that it's smart, because you're diversifying. Your marketing side of it is great in that regard. But I think you need that, because I think that some people are it's like audiobooks versus reading, whatever. You're the full gamut of the umbrella, of the whole experience is what you're doing. I think it's brilliant. Now, I'm going to go through real quick, because we're already half hour in. I'm sorry about that. Usually it's about an hour or so.
It's all good.
When did you meet Steph? When did this all correlate? So that because that's I met you guys during the Nocturnia
Yeah.
event. That was kind of what when I met you guys. But how did that all happen?
So it's actually quite an interesting story. So we even know the date because we actually met on a Facebook thread, January 30th, 2018. There was an old friend of ours, still consider him a friend. Just don't really communicate with him that much anymore. But an old friend of ours who is in the industry was getting some what we felt was unnecessary, just a shellacking online. People were just taking some really bad pot shots at him and saying some unfair things about him. And as soon as it was posted, I was one of the very first people to show up, put a comment of support up there. And this thread just not only blew up, but it was one of those threads that just never stopped getting comments on it. And 3 weeks later, like over 100 comments later, I got a notification saying, hey, Steph Cannon commented on this thread. I'm like, okay, I just went up and looked at it. And I appreciated the way that just something about the way that she commented on that thread made me say, let me go click on her profile. And she had some art that she had done, or she had commissioned for a one-page comic that she had done. And I commented back on to her comments like, hey, I agree with what you're saying. And I looked at your profile and the art you have is really awesome. And that caused us to start a conversation. And immediately we realized that we were both thinking along the same lines. I had already released the first Heirs of Isildur album. I already had the 11-issue arc framed out for Heirs of Isildur: The Crossroads Conundrum. I had released 2 issues. And we realized right then that the things that I needed that I thought I already had, but I really didn't have a clue on, that she possessed those skills, and vice versa. There were things that awesome. she was wanting to be able to do when she got into the comic world. Like I have a very strong and a very deep business background. I was in white collar business for quite a while.
Yep.
There are a lot of things that I had those skills on that were of benefit to her. And it took us a very short amount of time to realize that we would be stronger as a unit together, creating together, watching each other's backs, and making sure that we were putting all of our eggs into the same basket, that we were apart. And we didn't officially form the LLC until a year later, but we were operating as a single entity in what we do within 4 months.
Yeah. And it shows that you guys, you're bouncing ideas out. And one nice thing about it is you guys are literally global. You're full nation between you, but you end up getting the jobs done. And this is, your Kickstarter, your campaigns are not a joke. These are like major, major events. I've been watching you for years, and it's something to where you could really learn a lot. Just on how you manage, how you guys both do this. She's flying out to Florida. You guys are doing the shows, doing whatever. I don't know if there's just a lot going on, and you take no prisoners. You do a good product, a very good product. I remember the joke about the mail out receipt from the post office. Crazy. Oh my God. Or wherever it was, FedEx or wherever. Couldn't believe that. It was huge. It was,
Well, one of the things, and I'll go back to a review that we got of Tales from Nocturnia 2, and it's become part of our mantra.
Yeah.
A guy named Wexon Tan from Fanbase Press did a review, and he said to the effect of, they've found their niche on this comic and they really lean into it. And we've kind of taken that and said, look, if we're going to be doing it, we're going to lean right into it, because as you know, from being a creator yourself, if you try to sit back and be safe about what you do and you don't stick your neck out, there are 100 other people out there that are going to do that, and then you're going to get lost in the shuffle. So that doesn't mean we're in competition. It just means if you're afraid to create your own niche, then you're going to disappear behind everyone else that does. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to take chances. You have to. Yep. I want to say good morning to Pop Culture Adventure, as well as Chad. And a couple of people stepped in here. I'm not sure who else is here, but I want to make sure I say hi to
Chad
everybody.
Davies is there. Sarah. I see a bunch of people have jumped into the chat.
Yeah.
Appreciate everybody coming out.
I do too.
Whether you're here to see me or whether you're here to see Ted, probably here to see Ted.
Well,
but I'm glad you're here to see me too.
Well, I want to make sure people get to see you, because you're the man of the hour here. I want to make sure that they know, this isn't a flash in the pan. You and Steph have been doing this a while. You guys have been producing work exceptional work. And it's not just me that says that; it's the overall community. You've done some really good stuff. Tell me about what's going on with this Kickstarter now. This is a little different. This is not the
This is
standard. You're not going to be listening to death metal
yeah, this
in
has
this
been one of
book, right?
those. This is one of those where we really were challenged to step out of our comfort zone, even though in reality it is our comfort zone. So Misfits Clubhouse is an all ages story, and when we say all ages, people get the misconception that all ages means that it's like for people that are into Blues Clues, and oh,
Right.
if I don't have a 5-year-old, I'm not going to like it, and that's not the case at all.
Good.
Everybody likes Toy Story. Everybody likes Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
Everybody likes, the irreverent cartoons, even though our story is not irreverent. There's a lot of silliness that goes on in there. So Misfits Clubhouse is about 4 neighborhood kids who, meet in the clubhouse behind one of their houses, and they just have they let their imagination run away. And the difference between what our story is and what a lot of other stories are out there is this is not just about these kids imagining and playing. This kid's imagination is so strong and so intense that it kind of blurs the lines of fantasy and reality. And they don't really realize if there's any blurring happening, they don't even realize that they're just going about their day. They're just playing. They're just having fun. But there could be things around them that are altering because of how intense their fantasy is. What that means, we'll explore as the series goes on. But we just want to take these characters, which is, if you look at the picture that's right there, you have 4 characters in view. From left to right, you've got Fairy, who's a ferret, Stig, Sloth, who, is a sloth, and then Miki. So those are your 4 characters. So right off the bat, if you have 4 kids and one's a ferret and one's a sloth, we are already in this pseudo fantasy, pseudo reality kind of environment.
Right. Who's the gentleman back here?
So that is one of the alien guards. So in this issue, the first story for Misfits Clubhouse is a short story that's in Scoot Frontiers magazine that's on Scout Comics.
Okay.
And the reception we got over the summer was very, very good when that came out. We're like, you know what? We need to get the first actual issue of this out as soon as possible. And that's what you're going to get here. The main story in the issue is called Pinball Madness.
Okay.
And
let me know and I'll scroll through this. Just let me know when you're ready.
Sure. So Pinball Madness is a story about where they can't go out to the clubhouse. So we've told you the clubhouse is a big deal. It's called Misfits Clubhouse. And on page 1 of the issue, it's raining and there's a lightning storm, and Miki's parents won't let her, Miki's dad won't let him go outside and play in the clubhouse because it's too dangerous.
Sure.
So he's like, I've got a bunch of stuff in the garage. Do you think that the kids would want to go out there and take a look at it? So they go out there, and one of the things is a pinball machine, from the classic pinball machine from the 80s, 90s golden era of pinball.
Cool.
And it's about an alien planet. And the next thing you know, stuff happens and they're trapped inside the pinball machine, and you see one of the aliens, the alien guard that's coming after him on that cover. And so that's why there's an alien on the cover there, because not because of the Roswell connection.
Got it. That's ironic, but yeah. Okay. I see. That's good. I'm glad you funded already. So takes the stress off. Doesn't mean people can't invest in it ideally, but that's the cover actually I got. I invested as well. So that's the one I ended up getting, but go ahead. I'm listening. Just let me know and I can scroll through as you.
Sure, that's fine. If you want to scroll down a little bit farther, so that's the hey, our first comic. So tell us about the campaign. So like I said, we're funding the first issue, the first standalone issue. As we say, there are people who like to laugh, people who appreciate lighthearted stories that the whole family can enjoy. Fans of Gravity Falls, Wreck-It Ralph, Fairly Odd Parents.
That's good. Those are pretty. That's pretty well rounded.
And so the stretch goals, we just hit our first stretch goal. Which is at 3,500. There's 2 digital comics that are consistent. Like for our other campaigns, we would probably put a lot of different types of PDFs in these campaigns. But we wanted to make sure that the PDFs were going to be consistent with this kind of readership that's here.
Understand.
We also have a bookmark that's going to be in for our physical backers, what you call the Curious Slothy, which is our guy Sloth, peeking over a fence, seeing what everything is going on. So when you put your bookmark in, he's going to be kind of peeking over the top of the page. When we get to that next stretch goal, if we do, then we'll tell you what happens, where the next level is, and we'll kind of go from there. If you've seen our other campaigns, this is our 6th one. That's kind of how we operate. That's kind of how we roll. We're not big into let's throw stuff out there to $10,000 and you make a whole bunch of commitments to these things, because then if you don't get there, it's kind of a downer.
Yeah,
So we'd rather
and
just
it's achievable goal. I mean, what we're trying to do here. I think it's excellent what you do. And you guys can go back and look through their campaigns. I mean, this is like I said, they're always improving, and it's something that you and Steph do very well. You've been doing this for a long time, so.
So there's the fourth cover. We actually have 4 covers for this issue. The fourth one, which we actually released after the campaign started, is called Down the Drain. It's by Richard Fairgray, who's a very well-known children's book author originally from New Zealand. He's a friend that actually made just as the pandemic started. He and I became friends, and he reached out. He's like, "Hey, I think that my art style would work for what you guys are doing. I'd love to do a variant cover." And there you go. There's our 4 characters going down the drain, which is a play on words in pinball too. You know, you don't want to go down the drain in pinball, so it's a good little play on words for him there.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So, and then you go through. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Then we go through. We have the Misfits. So Miki is the the emotional heart of the group. She's always going to let you know exactly how she feels about a situation. The very first short story that's in Scoot Frontiers is called "I Don't Want Any Asparagus." And they always will take the most mundane thing. Like imagine right now in our day, in our life, we try to make situations seem, oh, just calm down. It's no big deal. Let's work through it and deal with it. These kids, it's the opposite. They want to take the smallest thing and turn it into the biggest overblown thing known to man. So the whole first story is about how much Miki does not want to eat asparagus. Yeah. And she goes into these big histrionics about, how much she hates it. She's not going to put out the fire at the asparagus factory. If the asparagus factory is on fire, she'd make the asparagus walk the plank if she was a pirate. So she's the emotional heart. And if anybody knows Steph, they know that Steph is known for having big, huge, wild hair. So there's a little bit of influence and an inspiration for her hair based on us as a creative team.
Got it. A little nod to Steph there.
So Stig is is kind of like the foundation, the heart of the group. If you look at the other 3 characters, they all have got some big personality traits. Yeah. Stig doesn't really have that as much as being the oldest and the leader of the group. And that doesn't mean he always leads. He'll find himself some mischief as well. But if anybody is going to be like the solid rock that the group stands on, Stig is going to be that guy.
Good deal. We all know somebody like that, right? Yeah. A leader. Yep.
Ferry is the one that is we don't want to say he's got the bad attitude, but he's the one that thinks he's a lot cooler than he really is. Okay. And he's the one that's always going to, you always have that guy in your group that's like, oh man, I'm the cool cat, and literally he thinks he's the cool cat, but he's a ferret. Yeah. And he's the one that will challenge them on, like we get to see some situations in some of our stories where Ferry has to be convinced that it's okay to be a kid and it's okay to have fun because he is really conscious of the way other people look at him and the way other people are going to potentially judge him.
Interesting. And that's, these are real subtle, true to life characters, really. I mean, 'cause there's always somebody in the group like that. I mean, even growing up, I've witnessed that quite often with other people. And it's like, wow, you really are clueless in some regards. And I'm sure he's not his character, but.
And then Sloth is obviously a sloth. We thought it'd be hilarious to actually just have a sloth. That's his
great.
Name,
Yeah, you gotta
the sloths are so slow and all that he just doesn't even have a name. But he's the guy that we could have a lot of fun with. He's, I would say, kind of the breakout character right now. We kind of feel like people have gravitated towards him already, and we have a lot of ideas and a lot of fun things that Mr. Sloth is probably going to be involved in as we go forward.
That's great.
But yeah, he's insightful, but he's not very confident in anything except his insight and his bowl cut. So that's about the 2 things that he's basically confident in.
That's great. So then the major character, huh?
Yeah, the major character is the clubhouse. I mean, if you look at like Stabbity Bunny from Richard Rivera, people think, oh, the bunny's going to be out there stabbing. And the bunny is more of like a talisman that is protecting other people. Mm-hmm. The clubhouse is kind of the same thing for these kids, where the clubhouse is just a building. And you're like, is the clubhouse where the imagination and where the fun and the fantasy come from? Or is it just that's the grouping point for these kids to start from? But they have a special bond just because they're the kids that go and hang out in this clubhouse.
Sure. It's, we've all, hopefully most of us have had clubhouses in some way, shape, or form in our lives. And I know, even Superman has a clubhouse, right?
Absolutely.
So
So as we go on, I see that there's a couple questions over there. We'll
Yes,
definitely get to you,
let's,
Chad. I see you got some great question. I'll definitely
yep,
jump
go
back to
ahead.
that
I'll
one in a
throw that
minute.
up. Yeah, I mean, go ahead. Go. You
Okay.
can address it whenever you want.
So Chad said, hey Matt, can you explain how the collaboration works a little more? How do you split up the work to not step on each other's toes? Well, one of the best things about Steph and I is that we understand what the strengths and the weaknesses of both of us are. We also know that in the end goal is we want to have the story done, the story completed. And it's not about, is it my thing? Is it her thing? We just know, hey, we need to have this thing done. We're working on a project a long time ago. And she said right off the bat, even though it was clearly something where she was in the driver's seat and I was more of the secondary, she's like, I don't care what the breakdown is, we're going to consider it 100% 50-50. We're co-writers, because if we break it down any way other than that, why we want to split hairs? Hey, it's 51-49. There's no need. You know, the way I like to say it is, once you pour water into a pitcher, are you going to be able to take that water back out? No. Once it's in there, it's mixed together, and you can't say which water is which. It's there, it's mixed together, and it's done. That's how we try to operate. We do say that if somebody's the one that has the vibe, or someone's the one that has the primary story focus, like for instance in this issue, Pinball Madness is something where I was the one that had the vibe. A lot of the original concept is mine. Steph has her ideas, and so does Raheel Mosin, who's the artist. But I'm the one that was kind of the primary, the driving force. Hey, this is what I was looking for. They'll be like, what was your original intent? I get to be basically the one to kind of make that call. Dress Up Mess Up, which is the other story in this issue, is the opposite. Steph was the one that really had the vibe and knew where she wanted to go with it, even though there are definitely ideas from both of us. Like you definitely can't go in there and say, this is all Steph's, or this is all Matt's, or this is all Raheel's, because we all have our ideas in there. The ultimate direction of the story was one that Steph got to guide the car, so to speak. The other thing I would say about collaboration between the two of us is we also know where the strengths and weaknesses are. Like I said, I've got a strong business background. We do everything in Google Docs and Google Sheets, even our scripts we do in Google Sheets. So that way they are live documents that can be shared across the world with our art teams that right now reside in Brazil and in India. And the way that we kind of worked on that is Steph was more versed in the way to actually construct a comic script than I was, but I was more versed in the organizational skills. So we basically took her script writing skills and just translated that over into the Google Docs organizational skills.
It's great.
So that's where the collaboration is. We definitely do not do the hey, you write a page and then I'll write a page, because that just doesn't work. One of the other things we do, and we've been doing it a lot with the scripts recently, is when it comes to dialogue, we say, okay, we have this panel, we have this page, and we have these two characters here. What would be the logical thing that these characters would actually be communicating? And the two of us will sit down and actually throw out ideas together as to some potential options that these characters could be saying based on the reality of the situation. We say, if Ted Davies was the one that was in the situation, what would his logical human reaction be? If there's something startling happening on the page, he's not going to sit back and say, okay, that's cool. We try to make sure we're finding phrases and finding dialogue that is going to be true to what someone else is going to feel, because our two main things are, we want to create characters that people can relate to and universes people want to escape into. And if the character is not doing things that are realistic that people can relate to, then we haven't done our job. It doesn't matter if it's Misfits Clubhouse or Tales from Nocturnia or Heirs of Isildur or anything else. It's got to be something that a person can say, yep, that seems like a realistic reaction for that person in the universe that they're in, and I can relate to that.
Understand that. And I think that collaboration is important because there is give and take. You guys have you got parameters, but you don't have you're not pigeonholing, and that's a big problem with a lot of businesses, is that people get into this bottleneck, and they don't let anybody do anything that they're not supposed to do, and that's not what you guys do, and that's why you're successful. Sarah, I will continue on with this in a second, but I've got to throw this out anyway, just for market strategy. Need a duckbill platypus.
Duckbill platypus. Well, here's the thing: if Sarah was to get the tier to be drawn into Dress Up Mess Up, which is still
There
have a
you
few
go.
out there, maybe we would draw Sarah in as a duckbill platypus into the issue. I'm just saying.
There you go.
Maybe that's the case. We do have in Dress Up Mess Up, we do have a few draw me ins, which were well known for draw me ins. We've probably had over, I'd have to go back and count, probably over 50 draw me ins since Heirs of Isildur issue 7. We started off just as for fun in Heirs of Isildur 7. We just said, hey, if you want to get drawn in, let us know. We drew over 30 people in, then we drew 7 more into the next issue of Heirs of Isildur. And it was just wildly successful, just as a test to do it. And then for every Kickstarter campaign, we've allowed people to have the ability to get drawn in, and we always have fun with it.
Do you still have books that are available of these of the past campaigns?
Absolutely. We still have those. What we would suggest for people is if you're a reader, just go get the trade paperbacks. You have a trade paperback of Heirs of Isildur, The Crossroads Conundrum, a trade paperback of Tales from Nocturnia, the Complete Legendary Saga. In the Kickstarter campaign, we make sure that no matter, even though this is a Misfits Clubhouse, we know there's some people that are just happening upon us now for the first time. We always want people to have the ability to pick up everything. And so you can get the Heirs trade paperback. You can get the digital versions. We have a lot of fans overseas. We have tiers up there that's got the albums, all the digital, all that stuff. And we want to make sure people have the chance. We had somebody the other day that was like, I didn't know you guys did metal music. I picked up Misfits Clubhouse and one of your metal CDs.
Sweet.
Hey, that's great. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. And that's what you want. I mean, you're trying to diversify a bit, not to the where you're forcing people to do, to digest what you're trying to do, but it's good. I mean, you're doing it the right way, I think. I don't want to lose out on this though. Let's keep the momentum on your Kickstarter because that's why we're here. I love the art. I mean, the art's great.
Yeah, Raheel is an amazing artist. And one of the best things about Raheel is he can understand where Steph and I want to go art-wise.
Yeah.
But he also has his own silliness in the way he thinks. And when he looks at the script, he's like, oh, guys, what if we tried this here? What if we tried this there? And like, one of the best things about this story, because the 2 pages you see there are from Pinball Madness.
Yeah.
Raheel had no prior experience to actually playing pinball because he's in India and it's just not a thing there.
Just not a thing there.
So we had to go back to the very basics and have him understand what a pinball machine is, what the play table is, what the back glass is, flippers, all that. And so with the knowledge that we gave him, it was interesting to see what he thought was going to be fun in a pinball machine.
Yeah. So his perspective would be completely different because it's not practical.
Yeah.
He's never used one, right?
So if you look at those 2 pages, that's actually the very first page of Pinball Madness where there's a lightning storm outside. And then the next page, which is later on in the issue, you see a gigantic intergalactic space worm. And you get to see how the heck do we go from this to the intergalactic space worm. And that definitely came out of Raheel's mind. Raheel and Steph and I, and even Richard Rivera, who is we call him the editor, but he's more like the editorial consultant because he just will come in and be like, yeah, we'll see, we want to make sure that he can believe in the story as well. And the 4 of us have got just silly ideas and seeing them all come together. And then you're like, where the heck do we come up with this crap?
That's great.
That's
comics.
Nonsense?
You know what? That's comics in its purest form. What's Dress Up Mess Up?
So Dress Up Mess Up is we want to say it's a seasonal / holiday based story. But then again, especially for us at Insynergy Creations, every day is Dress Up Day. You will never see us at a show where we're not dressed up in some form of either steampunk or Steph and I in our twinning outfits that we wear.
Yep.
So the kids are excited. They're ready to go out trick-or-treating, but one of them is having some second thoughts about going this year, and they have to convince him. And the story is, do they convince him before it's too late? Can they convince him before it's too late? It's a little short. It helped us to fill out the issue so that we have a full-length issue. And in that one, because it's based around Halloween, all the draw me ins are going to have some form of relation to something that would happen on Halloween night. And we've already taken out about half of the tiers taken. There's still some more out there. And I can tell you this, we have people that have been drawn into our issues that still to this day are like, can I get another copy? Can I get
That's
another
cool.
copy?
That's
We have a
cool.
guy that was drawn onto the cover of Heirs 8 that has probably bought 15 copies of that
Wow.
issue to give out to people.
He made it, right? He's in a
Yeah.
comic. He's in a
And
book. Yeah.
we can definitely tell you if you find yourself drawn into this issue, you are going to be happy with what's happened to you, even though it's going to be a small part. It may only be 1 or 2 panels. You
Yeah.
make it one line of dialogue. You're going to go, I never thought I'd see myself like that. And you know what? I can go out to my friends and be like, I'm in a comic looking like this or doing this thing, and you guys aren't, so I'm cooler than you.
Right.
That's what we want.
That's cool. That's cool. All right, cool. And then show us the goods. What's the
So the goods, if you we wanted to make sure this is, as you said, normally our campaigns are big and elaborate. We've got the leather dragon masks and metal music and woodwork and all kinds of crazy stuff. After the campaign we just had with a metal CD and vinyl records and a comic and all this, we're like, we need a simple campaign this time. We do not need to be going the other direction. We're getting ready to have another complicated campaign to start 2022 for the next piece of Heirs of Isildur. We didn't feel like this campaign warranted having the big blowout. That's not what this campaign is. It's simple. It's to the point. We want everybody to be getting the stuff in the stories. And so for this one, we have 4 covers. If you scroll down there are 4 covers there. The first one is Alien Guard from Raheel Mosin, which we saw earlier. The second one on the top right is by Seda Wolf, who is a teen phenom. She has a graphic novel called Soulstream on the Scoot imprint for Scout Comics. She started writing the issue when she was 13 years old, signed to Scoot, or signed to Scout at 15, and now just has her first full graphic novel released at 17.
That's great.
We did Awesome Con DC with her this summer, completely hit it off with her and her family. And when we were looking for covers for this issue, we're like, we decided that Seda was the one we wanted to ask because her art style really worked well. This is a mashup cover because she drew our characters in Soulstream style. So we call it Time Warp because they are a little bit older than they are in the issue. So we wanted people to know, hey, if you get the mashup Time Warp cover, you're not going to see our kids at 12, 13 years old. What you're going to see is how our kids would look if they were in the Soulstream universe. So if you like it and you get that, we also want you to go out and try to pick up some Soulstream as well. You won't be
absolutely. Yeah, that's great crossover too. That's excellent. That's great.
The third cover there is called To the Moon. That is if you think about what Misfits Clubhouse is, it's the clubhouse, it's the 4 kids, and it's them and their imagination, their red wagon. That's the very first image that was ever released for Misfits Clubhouse, was them in their little red wagon. And so that's the To the Moon cover that's there on the bottom left. That is also from Raheel. It just kind of shows the fun and the whimsy and the here's Misfits Clubhouse stripped down right here. Clubhouse, kids in the wagon. That's your To the Moon cover. And then cover 4 is Down the Drain, which is by Richard Fairgray that we talked about earlier.
Right.
And you see the kids and the pinball all getting ready to go down the drain. He did an amazing job there, and we're super, super stoked to have Richard as a part of this as well.
That's great.
And then we have a couple of additional items that we did. We're doing a sticker sheet,
that's cool.
Which is we call it the Super Sweet sticker sheet. So everybody does stickers. We even did stickers. The first 40 backers all got one of these in the Misfits wagon. But this one is actually a I think 5x8 sticker sheet that have got the peel off ones in there. So that way it's more than just the one sticker. It's actually like a full piece of merch.
That's cool.
That we can have at the table.
I like that.
And last but not least, we normally do clothes or dragon masks, some kind of crazy stuff. This time we're doing silly socks.
Yeah,
how many campaigns out there do socks? We're like,
not many.
If there's something silly that can be done for this campaign, the silliest thing we could come up with was silly socks, and that's what we did.
That's good.
So you've got those out there on the campaign as well.
That's awesome. So the add-ons then on that were...
So the add-ons, you can add on anything that's already in the campaign, but what we also did was, because we've got such a huge backstock of things for Heirs of Isildur and Tales from Nocturnia and other things that are out there, we always try to make sure that people have the ability to go and get those things. We have a lot of cool foil covers. Walter Osley, who just won an Eisner Award, was it Eisner Award or no, it wasn't Eisner. It was
Eisner?
What was the one that just happened? The awards that just happened. Somebody in the chat help me out here.
I don't know.
It was the awards that just happened. He won one with Metal Shark Bro for the artistry and the writing for that, and it was the one that was just given out at Baltimore Comic-Con. But he did a great series of Garbage Pail Kid homage covers for us. We have 3 of our characters that were drawn as Adam Bomb, the most famous Garbage Pail Kid.
Yeah.
And we have 3 regular versions of that. We have 3 foil cover versions of that. And we want to always make sure that people have the ability, if they're like, holy crap, I didn't realize you guys have these things, we want them to have the opportunity to go get them. So we have as much of our product base as we can in the campaign.
Yeah.
And they can either go add it on. If there's something that they don't see in there, just message us. And we are well known for, hey, if there's a tier that you want that you don't see, we're going to create you a tier, or we'll make sure you can get added on, so that way you can get the things that you want out of our campaign.
That's great. I love the characters of you guys. That's great.
So yeah, we always love seeing ourselves drawn
Sure.
in this way. We told Raheel to have fun with it.
Mhm.
One of the things we do, we always want to make sure if people draw us in, we want them to have us twinning. We're well known for Steph and I, who are nowhere near the same size. We definitely I would shop at like the Big and Tall, and Steph would probably shop at Baby Gap. And
she is a small woman. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we always try to have outfits that are similar. And we told Raheel to do the same thing. And so now we got to go out and find a way to get purple paisley pants and top hats and mustard yellow spats and jackets. One of these days we'll dress as what Raheel did for us. And then, underneath that, you see Raheel, he is the artist for the series.
Yep.
Great guy, great thought process, a funny guy.
Sounds like he's very creative. Yep.
Fun, creative guy that really has linked up with us. And then Richard, who is the editorial consultant that is helping us to steer the series the right direction. Richard's very hands off in what he does, whether it's with this or whether it's his, because he also runs the Scoot imprint for Scout Comics.
Right.
He just wants to make sure that that anybody that's creating stuff that could potentially be on the Scoot label is writing things that would be consistent with what the mantra is for Scoot.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. It's understandable. You've got to have that.
Yeah.
Not really a gatekeeper, but you got to have that. You have to.
Yeah. So we've tried to write in the mindset of what would Richard say if he was the one that was writing this, or if this was something that was going to happen on his label. Is this something that he would approve of? Because we know that he very strongly wants to make sure that there is solid entertainment out there that's family friendly. Again, doesn't mean that it's for kids, because this is not a kid story. This is something that any adult could go out there and read and have fun with it. But he wants to make sure that if a kid picks it up, that they're not going to be like, oh crap, what is this thing that's hanging between this guy's legs on this page, mommy and daddy? Yeah, right. Right. And that's the same way we view all the stuff we do. That's we view Heirs of Isildur, Tales from Nocturnia, all that stuff. We want people to be able to have entertainment they can share with their family and not be afraid of, oh, I've left it on the coffee table. Little Johnny's picked up the book. Now we have to have a birds and the bees conversation because he saw stuff that should be behind the glass of the convenience store. That's just not the way we roll.
And that's good. I mean, you guys you're putting out content without being, just you're knowing your audience. That's good. And you're making an audience that can be safely addressed. You can watch, you can look at things without having to be worried about, like you said, what was left on the table. So, what type of pledge? Let's see what the pledges are here.
So the tiers are pretty simple. We start off with a digital tier to get somebody involved. Then we've got each one of the covers as a separate tier. We then also have each one of the covers if someone wants to get a copy of Scoot Frontiers, which has the first appearance of Misfits Clubhouse in there. We're able to sell the physical copies that we have in our stock in there as well. So there's a tier with each one of the covers and Scoot Frontiers. There's tiers with the different things you saw, the stickers, the silly socks. There are also tiers in there for digital or physical for the readers. If they want to get the trade paperbacks that we have, or the digital versions, or the digital versions of the music, or the physical versions.
Just let me know if I'm missing something.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
Then I know I'm kind of rattling through there, but a lot of the tiers are pretty self-explanatory.
Sure.
We have the Draw Me In tiers where you get everything that's in the campaign, plus you get to get drawn into the issue.
That's awesome.
And then we always try to make sure at the end of the campaign, and we do it every campaign, we'll have a tier that is the ultimate mega collector that says we'll give you one of everything that is in our stock that we can find. No matter if it's Misfits Clubhouse, if it's Heirs, we'll get you the trade paperbacks. We'll even go back as collectors. And if we've got even like one copy left of Heirs of Isildur issue 3 that we don't even bring to the shows with us anymore, we'll give you that. We'll give you stickers, jacket patches. We'll make sure you get a couple of the shirts. If we have things that we forgot that we even had any of, we'll make sure we throw something in there just so that way you get some value out of your pledge.
Got it.
And we look back and we look at these things and say, if we were to list these things out dollar for dollar, what would they be if we sold each item individually? And I think that the one tier that's down there is like $600 or $700. And people are like, my gosh, that's insanely expensive. But if you were to go to a show and pick one of these things up individually, where you're saving like $100, $150 if you're that level of collector. And we've had people that have come across us and they're like, guys, I just happened to cross you guys. You're really cool. And yep, I'm going to go get that tier because I want all these things. I'm a collector and I want to read it.
That's great.
And, you know, why not? We encourage creators to do that. We have some friends that run small publishers, and we're like, why don't you do that? Put a campaign out there, a tier out there at the end that's got every single thing that you've ever done, because nobody's going to go out there and pick the tier if it's not there to be picked.
Absolutely.
So
and I think you're smart doing that. And that's, you know, it's not meant for everybody. There's certain people that it's designed for, and that's great. And you've got a very good economical campaign. I mean, you're dealing with anything from $10 all the way up to $699. So you guys go through this. I mean, there's one nice thing about this, and then I'm looking towards, you know, my kids are adults now, but eventually I'm going to have grandkids, and I'm looking forward to that type of that. You know, that's what I'm looking forward to. So these type of things I want to be able to not stockpile, but this is the type of thing I'm investing in right now. I know that it's not going to be for a 3 or 4 year old, but there's something that as I go, as years to come, you know, say, hey, my buddy Matt and my friend Steph put this together. They signed it. Of course, you're going to sign the copy I got. But you know, it's something that we're working towards that, you know, and this is how and we're teaching the kids too. Hey, you know, if you have a friend that's got a gas station, go get gas from them. If they're producing books, if they're producing creative material that's healthy and good, and, you know, invest in them, you know, do something good. And that's what we're all part of. That's what this whole strategy of our community is, you know.
Well, right now we're at 3278 on this campaign. This is a different kind of campaign for us. Like you said at the beginning, our normal campaigns have gotten anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000.
Right.
But they're completely different campaigns, because you're talking about campaigns there where you've got a lot of collectors, you've got dystopian, like especially the next campaign for Heirs of Isildur, the Perilous Prospects. You know, the apocalypse has come to Shadow's Haven. It is wild as far as where the art is going, what the storyline is. There's going to be a lot of collectible covers there, and people that are collectors, that's what one of the areas where people want to collect. And so we fully expect that that's going to be in a different level. This is a different kind of campaign because you're selling to people that think they're buying it just for someone else, and that's normally not what it is. But we just implore people, hey, think about if you're sitting on your couch and you're flipping through the channels and Toy Story comes on or Wreck-It Ralph comes on or a movie like that, you're normally going to stop and you're going to watch it, and you yourself are going to enjoy it. It's not something where you're like, yep, this entertainment is below me and I'm watching it. There is something for you as an adult to get out of it. We did an interview the other day where the interviewer was like, yeah, this makes me harken back to this time, and it makes me harken back to that time. And we try to put those things in there. I love playing pinball, and the pinball machine that is in this game. We want people that are adults to look back and go, yeah, man, I remember going back to the arcade.
Remember the arcades, man. Yeah, that was it.
The arcade and doing that. I remember how fun that was, and being able to see that now through a different generation's eyes, like in our kids. We want people to be able to feel that and see that. We want there to be something that the adult that's reading it can get out of it. We want there to be something that the younger person that's reading can get out of it as well. And like I said, we just encourage people to take a chance on it, because we really believe in the story. We really believe in what's there. And just because we've hit that initial funding goal, that doesn't mean that that's where we want to be. We normally, there are two different trains of thought that you could subscribe to when it comes to Kickstarter campaigns as far as your ask. Some people ask for the amount that they really need. Some people ask for the amount they think they can get in the first couple of days. And that's normally what we do. So for us to be at 3278 with 5 days remaining, we definitely need a lot more to be able to do all the things that we want to do. We definitely need more to be able to give back to the fans the way that we want. but we also had realistic expectations. It's a new series. It's not one that is going to be tapping into our normal fan base because it's not steampunk, sci-fi, fantasy, adventure, medieval, death metal, any of those things. So we had tempered expectations. We are still completely pleased with where we're at on the campaign, with the way the campaign is going. It doesn't matter if you're a dollar backer or you're the biggest backer on the campaign. We rejoice every single time that we see the backer number tick up or the dollar number tick up, because we know that you're going to be getting something that you are going to enjoy. And if for some reason you don't enjoy it and you're someone that doesn't like laughter and whatnot, we know that you're going to be able to just go just like this to somebody to your right, and you're going to be able to find somebody that's going to like it. And there's going to be a new fan that's going to come from there.
Absolutely. And I mean, I would suggest you guys invest in not just this, but all the campaigns that you guys have done over the years, Matt. Look at everything that they're doing, because it's a full gamut. The diversified, there's a lot of thought that went into all of the different campaigns, all the different books that they've done. So I just think that this is just a great segue for new and flourishing idea. So nothing wrong with that. It doesn't take anything away and enhances what your full IP portfolio is, as far as I'm concerned. So
one of the neat things too
is
that having this stuff at our table at shows, because we've had Scoot Frontiers there and some posters. We even had a plushie of Slothy at the table as well.
That's great.
It brings a different demographic to the table, which has been good, because little kids might come and look at what we have at the table, but a lot of times it looks more like a band merch area than it does something that's inviting to kids. Right. And the kids have stopped and wanted to see that. And since they've done that, the parents have looked at the other stuff, and we've had people that'll be like, yeah, I want to get the Tales from Nocturnia trade, and I want to get one of these Frontiers for my 6-year-old that's right here.
Yep. That's great.
And we hope that continues once we have the Misfits Clubhouse individual issues on the table as well. So
that's good. And I think that that's smart. I've done the same thing. A lot of people can't read my first book, Retrieve. A lot of the younger kids it's not designed for that. I brought in a whole nother albino Zulu so that they could actually color in and start building a comic book of their own. I mean, that's the whole idea, to get them involved in it. And it made a huge difference on what's not just sales, but the experience of it all, and it's extremely important. I think that was very smart on your what you're trying to do with your concept. I think it's great. I appreciate your time, man. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me on.
And I'm glad everybody else is checking out what you're doing right now. Yeah, we've got a lot going on this week. A lot. You've got 5 days, right? 5 days till the end of the campaign.
5 days left. We have the next 4 days is going to be crazy. We have you're the first of 8 interviews that we have in the next 4 days. Steph and I will have a live stream to end the campaign on Sunday night. It's going to be 8 Eastern. And as a segue, this is going to be the second time in our 6 campaigns that Steph is running a 10K or half marathon on the last day of the campaign. It wasn't intended to be that way.
She's an avid
she's got a half marathon that ends up happening on that Sunday morning. So that's going to be, I think, her 19th half marathon.
Wow.
That she's running that day. So yeah, we get to do all kinds of fun, crazy stuff like that. We're all over the place.
That's good. You're going to be on Brian's show tomorrow. Brian K. Morris.
Brian K. Morris. See, I freaking love Brian K. Morris.
Yeah, Brian's the man. And that's why we're part of Rising Tide, because we love Brian. He's a great guy. But I got you first. That's all I'm saying. So
yeah, if you guys, and we'd love to see you guys go up there, take a chance on the campaign. We know you're going to like the stories that are out there. Pinball Madness is going to be a hilarious story. The art is just outstanding. Dress Up Mess Up is coming along great. We hope to turn this thing around as soon as we possibly can. I doubt we're going to have it in people's hands before Christmas, but you never know. Stranger things have happened in this world. Most likely, that's why I have the date to be January. We do feel confident that it's going to be out there by January. Yeah. We may even have it out before we have the vinyls out for our last campaign, because vinyl takes 6 to 8 months to come out. So we might be delivering this campaign and the vinyls at the same time we're launching the Perilous Prospects.
Yeah. Well, one good thing too, you're always on stuff about, you're always updating, and that's one other thing that fulfillment for you is, you guys have always done fulfillments very well. So
yeah, we want people to know that we appreciate them. We don't just look at people as dollars.
Yeah.
We look at people as every time, even like we said, even if you're investing $1 in us, if you're investing whatever, you've taken that time to go to our campaign, to read what we're doing, and then decide, hey, you know what, I am going to click this button. And that means a lot, because that's time that you'll never get back. Yeah, and
it is.
We value that and revere that, because we're like, that person just invested part of their time, of their life into what we're doing, we must make sure that we are treating that with as much reverence as we can and respect as we can, so that way they feel like it was time well spent. We don't want them to feel like that we only see them as dollars in the bank account.
Yeah.
We want them to know that we really do value their time and everything that they do.
And it shows. I know it shows. I appreciate everybody stopping in. Where can everybody find you, Matt, by the way? Real quick.
So the best way to find us is to go to insymmetrycreations.com. I'll throw it over here in the chat as well, so that people have it. Yep. So that is our main website, and everything that we do in one way, shape, or form, link to that site. We've got music videos up there. We've got stuff about every one of our stories up there. One-page comics that we've done. We have columns that we've written. Like I said, we have the lyrical look-ins that are there on the song lyrics. Steph is also making her way through becoming a respected horror movie reviewer and article writer. And she's had some stuff for Creepy Kingdom. And she even got to write one for Fangoria recently. She got to get an early release for a movie on Disney Channel. And she just did one for the Netflix movie Night Teeth that just was released like a week ago. She actually had early access to that as well. So if that's something that's in your wheelhouse, definitely go up there and check those things out as well. Everything we do, like I said, will link back to there. The Misfits social media, Heirs of the Silver social media, Tales from Nocturne social media. But right now, the most important thing as far as we're concerned is we want you to go up, take a look at the Kickstarter campaign we have going on for 5 more days. See if there's something there that interests you. And if there is, great. If there isn't, we hope you would pass along to somebody that might, because the higher we're able to get that number pushed up, the more we're able to give back to the people in the campaign, and the more things we're able to do to really get the Misfits Clubhouse IP launched to the moon, as you see on cover C.
That's right. Thank you. I do appreciate you, and consider you're part of Ted's tribe now, my man. So you're always welcome here. So, and you guys can check back to see Steph Cannon, your business partner, on one of the old TED Talks. Just go back into the portfolio, and you can see a little bit more about that. I will talk to you soon. Stick around for a couple minutes. Thanks again, Matt.
Sure.
All right.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Matt.
Thanks. Yep. We'll talk to you. All right. So thanks, guys, for stopping in, seeing a little bit more about Matt Knowles. Show them some love. They got a great campaign going, and I think it's ideal if you've got if you want something a little bit different than what they normally do. I think it's great that they're doing that, and I would recommend definitely checking out everything that they're doing, because they're an awesome group of people. Also, I want to tell you about the premiere we're having from the Trenches of Hollywood, our new podcast. It's going to be premiering at 5 p.m. This Friday with Craig Hall, who's a producer out in California, script writer. We're doing an overview episodic podcast on how you can get your writing down to get it out to Hollywood. So, and see the inside scoops a little bit about how it works and how the machinery comes together. So check out what we're doing with that. I would love for you guys to be part of that from the Trenches of Hollywood. It's right here on Ted Davies Artistry YouTube channel. And also, I would love you guys to check out my Kickstarter, since we're talking about Kickstarter today. Take a look at this.
Most of my life I've felt alone, but not here. I suppose living next to a cemetery, your neighbours are always close. It is peaceful and quiet, but not lonely. In fact, since my first visit amongst these graves, I've felt a presence, a calmness that fills the air and surrounds me like a gentle morning mist. That's how I know he is there. It's a feeling of being watched from afar. I wait in silence as well, until we meet.